Welcome to the Portage Health Foundation podcast. My name is Michael Babcock. I am your host here, and we are doing the first of what's going to be many interviews highlighting the amazing nonprofits in our community that are make up of our Giving Tuesday partners this year. So for those who don't know, let me get started with what Giving Tuesday is. Giving Tuesday happens every year after Thanksgiving, after Black Friday, after Small Business Saturday, after Cyber Monday. All those shopping events are just this big whole shopping mess. But then what happens on Tuesday is we take our look back and we think about what the holidays are really all about, which is about helping your neighbor and doing right for your community. And that's what Giving Tuesday is all about. This year we have 18 partners, and the Portage Health Foundation is going to be matching up to $200,000 in donations that come in that day, which is absolutely incredible. So what we're going to be doing with this series of podcasts leading up to it is getting to know each of the different nonprofits, telling their stories, giving you an idea of why you should support them and the people behind the scenes that make them what they are. So we are starting with one of my favorites, the Barbara Kettle Gundlach Shelter. The Barbara Kettle Gundlach Shelter Home for Abused Women is the full name. And we are with Mary Niemela, the executive director there. So Mary, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we're excited to have you here talking about the amazing things you do. So first off, can you tell us a little bit about what the shelter home is and then about yourself?
Sure. The shelter home is a shelter for victims of domestic violence and their children. And, in the title, you said Abused Women, Inc., which is true. That is our legal title. However, we provide services to all victims of domestic violence, male or female, or any gender. So we do provide those same services, although we can't house males at the shelter, but we do provide another safe place for them to be. And so we have been in existence this is our 40th anniversary of being a funded shelter. So we're really excited about that. And we're one of the first 5 shelters formed in the Upper Peninsula, or in the state, actually. There's 7 of us in the Upper Peninsula, and the other of the 46 total shelters are downstate. But we're one of the most northern shelter in the state of Michigan, for sure. So we are up here, and we serve Keweenaw, Houghton, and Ontonagon counties.
Excellent. And tell us a little about yourself. Have you been with the organization for the entire time?
Nope. But can you hear me okay?
I can hear you okay. Yep. Sorry, we're having a little bit of visual, but it's okay. I'm here.
Okay. There you go. So I have been at the shelters this is my 30th anniversary year of being at the shelter.
Yeah.
And I showed up there to volunteer and to do nutritional cooking with the staff or volunteers or even the clients. And I was teaching at the time, and I thought maybe I could help out. And I left with a job application and never did get to volunteer. So I started out as the coordinator of volunteer services. So I organized all the volunteers. And at that time, we had 35 volunteers coming from all 3 of our counties. It was great to do shifts because we didn't have to pay anybody overnight to be there at all. And then over the years, of course, everyone's lives get busy and volunteers get less and less. And we're always looking for volunteers. So if anyone has any time, I always say if we had 20 volunteers to do at least 1 shift a month, just think of all that extra maybe cash flow we would have to provide direct services to clients rather than paying staff to be there. So we certainly appreciate our full and part-time staff and our volunteers as well. They're a great asset to the agency.
Yeah.
So,
if somebody was interested in volunteering, how would they take that next step? I know there's a lot of people out there that want to give back, and
sure.
they just don't even know how to take that first step towards being able to do that.
Right. You could just call the shelter at 906-337-5632 and ask for our program manager, and she will certainly send you an application for that, and we will hopefully have a training soon. It's difficult now with the pandemic, but we will do the best we can. Zoom has become our new friend, and which in the beginning it was difficult, but now I look forward to having that extra company in my home as I'm working from home. So yeah, so then after that I became the court advocate, and I was that for 17 years. And then in 2014, when our former director retired, I became the director. So, and I've been that now for 6+ years. So
Excellent. One of the things that giving that history, that I think is really important this year to talk about is, not only is it 40 years, but you guys have signed the paperwork on a big move. Tell me a little bit about the move you guys are doing, and what, obviously you said you took over in 2014, so this is your 6th year. It seems pretty clear that this move will be one of the biggest things that is, when you look back at your time here, that one of the biggest things you accomplished.
that's true. And well, and I didn't start that flow. Somebody asked me when they found out we were moving or looking for a building, well, how long have you been doing that? I said probably about a week after I started at the shelter, because the building we're in is a great building. And we're very appreciative to Herman Gundlach for donating it to us for the purpose of using it in 1983. And but now that we've grown, we're still only a 10-bed shelter no matter where we move to. That's what the Division of Victim Services funds us at. But nonetheless, we are moving into a space that will have more communal living space. And it'll just be a one-story building, and it'll be great. We'll all have our own offices, and we really look forward to that. And that move has been going on for a long time. We've looked at this current building that we actually purchased since 2013, and I looked at it after that at 2 more times. And now there's been some renovations done to it, which has saved us a lot. And so we are hopefully going to be moving early spring. I say February, March, might be March, April, but I would move tomorrow if we could. If we had a
Right.
sprinkler system in there, we could do it.
And one of the things that I'm excited about that you guys did this year, and we talked about this a little bit, you and I did, is some of the fundraising efforts you guys are doing. I mean, Giving Tuesday is not the first fundraiser you guys did this year. Tell me a little bit about the fundraising efforts you guys have put in so far this year related to the new building.
Sure. And as much as we appreciate the Giving Tuesday, that'll be for direct services to our clients, and because we do need those funds as well. Grants don't pay for everything, of course. And but our other efforts this year were halted because of the pandemic. But we also were able to hold our music event virtually. It was on Facebook, so that was in June, and it was fun. But I really miss the face-to-face contact and the interactions you have with people who are coming to the event. But nonetheless, we were able to hold it that way. We also did our motorcycle ride-in October, which was always the first Monday, and that's an awareness event for us. But it turned into a little bit of a fundraiser as well, because people were generous. But what we have been doing for our building.
Hold on, Mary. Do you get out there on the bike? Are you a biker?
No, I'm
No?
in the car in the back. I would love to ride
Yeah.
on a Harley, but probably one that has 3 wheels and not 2.
I know our executive director loves the bike, and honestly, it's a great community for biking with all the
Yes,
wonderful roads we have through the Keweenaw.
yes, and I've challenged him to say, why aren't you in our motorcycle ride-in? So maybe next year, it'll be our 8th annual. So maybe he'll do that.
Well, mark down the calendar and bug me about it too, because then I'll bug him and we'll do some cool
Yeah,
stuff on social media with
we
that, because
will.
that's a really neat event you guys have every year.
We'll ask him publicly on our weekly meetings. So
I like it.
make a challenge for him. But
Yeah.
yes, so that was a really good event. We had 32 bikes this year, and it was just, but yet that was probably middle of the way. We've had over 50 bikes, so it's a nice ride. But in addition to that, for our building, of course, we're having to fundraise to help that along too. We've had things that come up. We need a sprinkler system put in there, and we have to build a fence. And unfortunately, with all the COVID tragedies that have come about, it's also brought us about some monies from the feds and the state that we didn't expect. But we're able to use that money for some of the things that we can do to the building to make it safer and better and cleaner, well, I'm not that our place is not clean, but more germ free, and if they can say it, so ripping out carpeting and things like that. So, but then yet we still need to fundraise for the building of it. So we have had a 3-phase campaign going on called Build a Bedroom. And the first phase was held for about a month. Well, not quite a month, but the chance drawing on that is if you donated a minimum of $40, hence our 40th anniversary, you could get a chance at winning a flight over the Keweenaw with Neil Harry. And then if you donate $100, you get 3 chances. So it's a better deal if you can give us $100. And that was over on October 9th. And then the second phase went until the 20th, which we only have 4 more days on that one. And that is a same deal. You suggested donation of $40 will get you a chance at a 24 by 36 painting of a sunset on 5 Mile Point, which my sister-in-law Janet Niemela painted in 2010. And it's not framed, but it's valued by a gallery in Grand Rapids at $600. So she's a beautiful artist and commercial artist, as well as other artwork that she's done. And all the details of her work are on the flyer or attached on our Facebook or our website. And so that is going on until the 20th. So, please look for that. And if you want to donate that way, but what you're doing is you're helping us build the bedrooms. We have to build 3 bedrooms within the facility. It's not exterior work. So we're talking walls and windows and doors. And in addition to that, there'll be a 3rd phase, which will go on probably December 5th to maybe the 20th. And just look for the details on that. I'm not giving any heads up. Yes,
he is not giving us the full information.
No, I'm not giving you the details on that one.
Well,
so, but my goal,
go ahead.
My goal on that is $15,000, and right now we're up to close to 6 between the two. So the first one was 3,870, and now we're up over 2,000 on the second phase. So we still have a ways to go, and so we really would appreciate that. In addition to that, with the house, we'll be looking for volunteers who like to paint or maybe adopt a bedroom in the sense of painting it and, maybe supplying some lighting, lamps and just things like that. And we'll certainly recognize you for doing that by having a placard in the entrance to the facility as to who did what. And we really appreciate that. I know people like to do things for just the sake of doing it, but if we can acknowledge your efforts to others, so to show that there's so much goodness in our community to help us all out.
Yeah, that's excellent. And we're here, of course, talking about a different fundraising event with Giving Tuesday. You guys have done this each of the years since we started it. Tell me about the impact that Giving Tuesday has had on your organization during the first 3 years.
Right. It's been amazing. I mean, each year it's increased. And we were so happy last year to receive a check for over $35,000. And that's just exciting. And this year now the match is even more. And we're very hopeful that we will see a good turnout in the community as well. I mean, it's amazing. And even in the times that we're in right now, people are still very generous. And we appreciate that so much. But those funds have been going to our direct services to clients. Like I said, we've been helping people with, when they come out of their home, they don't often have, the funds necessarily to, even if they have funds, they don't have it with them to get the things necessary to help them after they leave a situation, if that's what they choose to do. And so we've been able to help people, with utility bills or hookups or even just the direct services are paying utilities at the shelter. We have to be there 24/7 whether somebody's there or not. So it's all those things too. It doesn't get used for staff. It gets used for clients and the building. So we're very
Yeah.
appreciative of whatever we get.
Well, that's great to hear. And I imagine, even though you said the fundraisers you've been doing this year were pretty good, it was still probably a hard year in terms of raising money as a whole.
Correct. We were not able to have our crafting for a cause fundraiser. We weren't able to have our big anniversary dinner, which was going to be in October, so I'm anxious to write 2021 on my checker or on our document. And, maybe our 40th anniversary will be celebrated in 2021.
Absolutely. Let's make sure that we make it a better year than this one was.
That's
Um,
correct.
I want to ask you a little bit more about the organization here. So, and this question is a little personal. What drives you to stay there? 30 years at one organization is a long time, and obviously, and I'm hoping you're getting paid fairly. But you're doing this for more reasons than just getting a paycheck, I imagine.
Oh, definitely. It's all grant funded, and then we of course depend on local donations too, but not again for salaries. But yes, I mean, I started there to volunteer or wanted to volunteer, and I never in my life thought I would work with people in crisis day in and day out. But then I was teaching at the time, 7th through 12th grade, so I understood what working in people in crisis all day long was. Who's more in crisis than a 13 or 14-year-old, in just in life in general.
Right.
And but I was only teaching part-time, and I stopped at the shelter to do that and started working there, and just developed such a passion for what I do to be able to help people. And I never thought I could do that. When I was in college, my roommate did an internship at a shelter, and I thought, well, there's no way I could do that. I mean, I cry when they win cars and the Price is Right. So how could I do that, And
Right.
and then I just started, listening to people, and that's the big thing. And you know me, Michael, I'm a listener, but I'm also a talker. And it was just so how do I say, rewarding, or to be able to listen to somebody and know that you're just listening is help to them.
Yeah.
Because the big things we teach or train our staff and volunteers to do is to learn how to say mm-hmm, and really listen to what somebody's saying, and hear them out. And I walked out of court with people, and when I was the outreach advocate, and basically have somebody tell me, I don't know how I would have done that without you, and I never said a thing. It was just that support person. So,
Yeah.
so it's a passion that you have, that you're able to help people, and just be there for them, and
Yeah.
let them make the decisions, because oftentimes, they don't have much ability to say things about when they're living in that type of situation.
Right. Well, I want to talk a little bit more about that too. What constitutes somebody coming in there? Like, how does somebody get to the point, or not? How do they get there? But when would somebody be comfortable and be in the right to be calling you guys to ask for help? What kind of situation in life drives that?
Yeah. Well, oftentimes, people don't usually come on the first time something's happened, and domestic violence isn't just physical, it's the emotional, verbal abuse too. What women have often told us that, you know, he's never hit me, but he just calls me names all the time. And it's just it's hard to believe that you're in that type of situation when it's not physical, you know. But the verbal and emotional abuse can be just as bad as the physical abuse. And it depends on the situation as to how far someone will stay in there. Often children are things that keep people in that situation because, he might be a great dad. Domestic violence is the power and control that one person has over the other person. It's not as how badly they can be beaten up. It is that power and control. And abusers are not wearing peacock suits. They're not wearing name tags. They're not wearing all these things that, make that their abuse so noticeable. But I do want to say that, women, we always get asked, why does she stay in that situation? And really what we should be asking is, why does he continue to be abusive? As a society, we should be asking that, not put the blame on her. And I will tell you, there's two reasons why she stays in that situation, and that's love and fear. She
Mhm.
loves him, but she fears the behavior. And women will do everything they can to try to change themselves to satisfy the abuser, but you know there's times when nothing is going to satisfy that.
Right.
And we really hope things work out. We're not there to make everybody get a divorce or to break up with their partner. And I've been saying she all along, but 95% of the abuse is against women in the United States are reported cases, so that's where our statistics come from.
Which
And
still doesn't put 1 out of 20 is a man, and I guess the point there is that men can call if they're having a situation. You guys
of
are ready to
course,
answer that
yes,
too.
and we have provided services for males as well, so
Yeah.
definitely, and all genders too. So
And you guys are a shelter home, which obviously means people are welcome to stay there. You said you're a 10-bed shelter home. Tell me about some of the other services. I know that not everybody is in that situation where they need a
right,
home to stay that night. And
right,
maybe a lot of people, if they would have called you earlier, wouldn't ever need a home. So
right.
tell me a bit about what you guys can do for people if they think they might need help.
Sure. I mean, there are times when people just need to really talk about their situation, and so we have outreach services where we have one-on-one advocacy where people can make an appointment with our advocates to come in and talk. However, now I'm saying that like we don't have a pandemic, because this is just what's necessary for now. It's not the new normal. And so, in a non-pandemic world, we would be having our support groups for residents and non-residents. We would be having our face-to-face contacts for both residents and non-residents. And but in today's world, we can do that over the telephone. So, and people can call, and they don't even have to give us their name. Um, they just need to talk about their situation. And sometimes even women that have come in planning to stay will talk about their situation and then realize that they feel better because they've unloaded that burden off of their shoulders. So we also help people maybe if they need to fill out applications for housing, or for they have to apply for assistance, which is very hard for people if they've never had to do that before. Not the application itself, but just the asking.
Right.
It's hard to do that.
Yeah.
Like asking your parents for an allowance or something. Yeah, it's very degrading for a
I
lot of
could
people.
Yeah, I could totally, picture that. So it's I love to hear those services you guys make available, and it's important for people to know that those services are there. If you or somebody you know is could use that helping hand, make sure you take advantage of having the shelter home right in our community because they are available. And tell me which counties do you guys serve?
We serve Keweenaw, Houghton, and Ontonagon counties. Now we have an advocate in Ontonagon County. We don't have a shelter there, but we have an advocate that goes into the courts with people who when they need some support as well, just like our advocate here in Houghton and Keweenaw County does. And of course, that looks all a little different right now too, But nonetheless, the service is still there. We're an essential service, and we have to be there to help the people. And even how we take in somebody who needs to stay in the shelter right now looks a little different. So, if you need to stay, find a place to stay that's a safer situation, still give us a call.
Yeah.
In the past we would say just show up at the door, but right now we can't even do that. It's please give us a call if you can. Um, and people have been doing that, and everyone's been appreciative of the service they've been receiving. Plus, they've been compliant with, uh, you know, hopefully quarantining a little bit and before we can bring them into the shelter, because we have to have them stay in another location for 5 to 14 days, depending on their situation. So,
Right, and I know we've had calls throughout the year with you and other nonprofit partners in our community about what COVID has meant to your organization, and so we've already kind of talked about a little bit how it's affected your fundraising, made that more difficult, but you guys have also done all kinds of stuff to make it a safer place for your employees and people who come into the house. Tell me a little bit about some of the work you guys have done on that front.
sure, we have been provided the ability to get all the PPE you can imagine now. If you were going in to go to the hardware stores and look for any of those painting jumpsuits, I've bought them. So there's none left. No. I only bought one in every size. Just because, if somebody really needed to do that, we would have that too. We have shields, we have masks, we have gloves, we have all the things that we can get our hands on, and just like everyone else in the beginning, it was really hard to get. We had to
Right.
have them sent from, gosh, I don't even know where, the wipes, because it was just difficult to get them, and I really hope it doesn't get back to that level again. But we are still not able to take people in face to face for our support groups or our face-to-face advocacy, and even though our advocates are talking on the phone with those people and helping them out in whichever way they can, it's I think isn't it ironic to say that everybody's wanting to get back to face-to-face? If nothing else, it's a check-in for each of them, because if you're in a support group, you also develop a kinship to the people that are in there, and become a support system for each of them too. So we're really hopeful that that'll change in the
Are
new year.
your support groups and that, are those free of charge for people?
Yes, there's no charge for any of our services, none whatsoever.
That's great, and a part of the way you guys are able to do that is by funds like Giving Tuesday coming in and helping. And
Correct.
one of the things I want to make a plea to people, if you're thinking about these organizations, and Mary talked a lot about all the different things that they had to get in terms of masks and shields and all of these other things. And for the most part, Mary, correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys didn't have to pay for these. It was more of a logistic issue to get them, correct?
Right. Most of it, yes. Some of the things we had to buy immediately. We had to buy the things that were available in the community, but it was minimal.
Yeah.
And now we've received, like I said before, those some of those grant dollars from the the other, through our state coalition and different things like that, places like that, where we've been able to receive monies to get those types of things. And we have to get shields up on our desks, and we even though, like, I've been working from home since March 26th, and trust me, for an extrovert, that is not an easy thing to do. So I have certainly found out having the staff around me is much more positive. But in our new building, we'll all have new offices, and so we'll all be able to be back there. I'll be able to be in the building as well. But right now, there's three of us in an office, and we've had to move desks around. We've had to put up partial walls just to follow all the recommendations from not just the CDC, but our funders as well.
Yeah, and,
And
and what's interesting is you're talking about all these things, and a lot of it is money issues, but it's also it's taking you away from your primary duties that you would do on a regular basis. The shelter home is still running. You're still having to hire people. You're still having to, give through all these logistics. And I hope people out there right now, thinking about their situation, if you have the ability and you have extra income right now that you might not have had, whether it's been from different things related to COVID, or the fact you just haven't been spending money like you usually would, which is, I know, for a lot of people, true. I hope you consider places like the shelter home to make a donation to, because that money means a lot to them. And you have to remember that these groups have not had the ability to do a normal year, and therefore planning has been harder. And just getting things done has been harder. So if they're able to get extra money this year, more money than usually would, it'll make their 2021 a lot better, and hopefully a lot more smiles moving forward. Because this stuff has been really stressful, and I mean, I've seen it on in the conversations we've had, how much it's taken a toll on people.
right. I mean, and we've been very appreciative of the weekly meetings through the Portage Health Foundation, as well as other agencies as well, just to be able to find out resources that are out in the community. I would imagine that on our weekly meetings, our Zoom meetings with the Portage Health Foundation, we've all learned something. That,
Right.
oh, we can get that there, we can do that, we can keep that. And even having, like the health department on there, to keeping us abreast of what's happening in the community, has really been able, for my benefit, or for myself, been able to calm down some of the panic of people that are saying, "Oh my gosh, this is happening, that's happening." I'm like, "No, no, not really. This is what I heard from the health department." And where we may not have that knowledge otherwise if there weren't for weekly meetings like what we've been able to attend. So
Right. So we're closing in on the end of our conversation here, but one of the things I would love to have you do is to talk about a something that would be kind of, and I don't expect you to give the exact details here. Actually, I'd prefer if you didn't for privacy's sake. But I'd love to hear you talk about, one success story that stands out to you. Without obviously names or anything specific, but talk about somebody who kind of, your organization really made a difference in their life.
well, there's of course a confidentiality. I appreciate, not asking the details. And that is one thing that we really pride ourselves on is the confidentiality of the agency, from the staff perspective. And so I think the situation is that if somebody really wants to get out of their situation, and that's happened, and in the past, I don't even know how many months it's been now, 6, 8 months since we've been doing this. There's been an opportunity for us to take somebody into the shelter and help them get into their own place, you know, and not being the first time that they've left, but being the time that where they have said, "This is it. I can't do it anymore. I can't go back. I can't live like that." And really help. And I believe everything happens for a reason. And so this was the time when things happened. I mean, in maybe the other couple of times or 3 times that been in the shelter, come into the shelter or have left the situation, it just wasn't the right time for all those pieces to fall into place. And I would say that this was the time to do that. We were able to help with security deposit and different things to help her move and supply that U-Haul, the money for the U-Haul and those types of things. It's not often that we can do that we have enough funds to do that. And it's not all about the money. It's just about the help too. I mean, there's times when we make a phone call and we can people will donate furniture. Or I mean, one time and this was a number of years ago, I put up a plea out to my friends on email that said, "Hey, is anybody getting a new washer and dryer for Christmas?" Well, trust me, Michael, don't go buy your wife a new washer and dryer because you're not, who knows where you'll be staying on New Year's, but or an iron. Don't buy an iron either. But there's times when that's just the point of that's what you need to get at that time. And so what that family did was they didn't give their old one, they bought a new one for them. So, or they, collected everything from their church. They brought it to their church and said, "Let's help this family out," and those are the types of things that, boy, do we wish we could say, who did that? Who's the one that gave that? Who, because we, and again, I have to go back to saying it's not the fact that you did it, but we just want to talk about that there is so much good out in the world to help us. It's not just us at the shelter doing that. It's the people in the community that help us to do that,
Yeah.
and because we can't do it all by ourselves for sure.
No, I love that you're bringing in the Copper Country community. Things like that are what make us all proud to call this place home. The reason we've all chosen to live here, which is a good thing. So let's finish up here. I want to remind people, you guys are always looking for volunteers. Remind people again how they can volunteer to help you and what kind of volunteers you guys need.
Sure, our volunteers are there for the shift work that our day staff doesn't fill, and so it's usually evenings and weekends for that, and it could be anywhere from a 4-hour to a 6-hour shift. And every volunteer hour that you give us is $25.43 towards a matching grant. So we really appreciate those volunteers as well, not just for the time that they provide and that our staff doesn't have to be there, but also what impact it has on our budget as well. And so we're very appreciative. If anybody wants to volunteer, our business line is 337-5632. Our crisis line is 337-5623. If you're in the Ontonagon area, our crisis line there would be 884-4004. And after 5 o'clock, that would ring up to our shelter as our agency. So we're there and we're operating. So thanks again to everybody in the community who gives to us all year long, not just at this time, but we really appreciate the funding coming through the hashtag Giving Tuesday.
Yeah, and of course, if you want to donate part of Giving Tuesday, the Portage Health Foundation is matching community donations up to $200,000 total between the 18 different nonprofits. So if you want to donate, we're accepting them now. You can mail them to us. We are located at 400 Quincy Street in Hancock. You can mail it there, or you can go to the website, phfgive.org/Giving Tuesday, and you can make a donation there. They're already starting to come in. We've had a couple for the shelter home come in already. So we're off to a good start. So make sure you get out there and make those donations. We appreciate it. Mary, thank you so much for joining me for this podcast and sharing your story. More importantly, thank you for all the work you, the rest of the staff, volunteers, the board, all the people at the shelter home. Our community is a much better place because of people like you.
Well, thank you so much for having us.
All right. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also find it on YouTube or Facebook. Thank you guys so much.